from his birth, and pendants from both ears of gleaming pearls adorned his hollow temples. Free of fear, and now no longer shy, frequenting homes of men he knew, he offered his soft neck even to strangers for their petting hands. But more than by all others he was loved by you, O Cyparissus, fairest youth of all the lads of Seir. It was you who led the pet stag to fresh pasturage, and to the waters of the clearest spring. Sometimes you wove bright garlands for his horns, and sometimes, like a horseman on his back, now here, now there, you guided his soft mouth with purple reins. It was upon a summer day, at high noon, when the crab of spreading claws, loving the sea-shore, almost burned beneath the sun's hot burning rays, and the pet stag was then reclining on the grassy earth, and, wearied of all action, found relief under the cool shade of the forest trees, that, as he lay there, Cyparissus pierced him with a javelin. And although it was quite accidental, when the shocked youth saw his loved stag dying from the cruel wound, he could not bear it, and resolved on death. What did not Phoebus say to comfort him? He cautioned him to hold his grief in check, consistent with the cause. But still the lad lamented, and with groans implored the gods that he might mourn forever. His life was exhausted by long weeping. Now his limbs began to take a green tint, and his hair, which overhung his snow-white brow, turned up into a bristling crest, and he became a stiff tree with a slender top, and pointed up to the starry heavens. And the god, groaning with sorrow, said, "You shall be mourned sincerely by me, surely as you mourn for others, and forever you shall stand in grief where others grieve." Such was a grove by Orpheus drawn together, and he sat surrounded by assembled animals and many strange birds. When he tried the chords by touching with his thumb, and was convinced the notes were all in harmony, although attuned to various melody, he raised his voice and sang, "O my loved mother, Muse, from Jove inspire my song, for all things yield to the unequalled sway of Jove. Oh, I have sung so often Jupiter's great power before this day, and in wilder strain I've sung the giants and victorious bulls hurled on Phlegraean plains. But now I need the gentler touch, for I would sing of boys, the favourites of gods, and even of maids who had to pay the penalty of wrong. The king of all the gods once burned with love for Ganymede of Phrygia. He found a shape more pleasing even than his own. Jove would not take the form of any bird except the eagle's, able to sustain the weight of his own thunderbolts. Without delay, Jove on fictitious eagle wings stole and flew off with that loved Trojan boy, who even to this day, against the will of Juno, mingles nectar in the cups of his protector, mighty Jupiter. You also, Hyacinthus, would have been set in the sky, if Phoebus had been given time which the cruel fates denied for you. But in a way you are immortal too, though you have died. Always when warm spring drives winter out, and Ares, the ram, succeeds to Pisces, watery fish, you rise and blossom on the green turf, and the love my father had for you was deeper than he felt for others. Delphi, centre of the world, had no presiding guardian, while the god frequented the Eurotas and the land of Sparta, never fortified with walls. His thither and his bow no longer fill his eager mind, and now without a thought of dignity he carried nets and held the docks in leash, and did not hesitate to go with Hyacinthus on the rough steep mountain ridges, and by all of such associations his love was increased. Now Titan was about midway betwixt the coming and the banished night, and stood at equal distance from those two extremes. Then, when the youth and Phoebus were well stripped, and gleaming with rich olive oil, they tried a friendly contest with the discus. First Phoebus, well poised, sent it a whirl through air, and cleft the clouds beyond with its broad wade, from which at length it fell down to the earth, a certain evidence of strength and skill. Heedless of danger, Hyacinthus rushed for eager glory of the game, resolved to get the discus. But it bounded back from off the hard earth, and struck full against your face, O Hyacinthus. Deadly pale the god's face went, as pallid as a boy's. With care he lifted the sad huddled form. The kind god tries to warn you back to life, and next endeavours to attend your wound and stay your parting soul with healing herbs. His skill is no advantage, for the wound is past all art of cure. As if someone, when in a garden, breaks off violets, poppies, or lilies hung from golden stems, then drooping they must hang their withered heads, and gaze down towards the earth beneath them. So the dying boy's face droops, and his bent neck, a burden to itself, falls back upon his shoulder. You are fallen in your prime, defrauded of your youth, O Hyacinthus, moaned Apollo. I can see in your sad wound my own guilt, and you are my cause of grief and self-reproach. My own hand gave you death unmerited. I only can be charged with your destruction. What have I done wrong? Can it be called a fault to play with you? Should loving you be called a fault? And oh, that I might now give up my life for you, or die with you! But since our destinies prevent us, you shall always be with me, and you shall dwell upon my care-filled lips. The lyre struck by my hand, and my true songs will always celebrate you. A new flower you shall arise, with markings on your petals, close imitation of my constant moans. And there shall come another to be linked with this new flower. A valiant hero shall be known by the same marks upon its petals. And while Phoebus Apollo sang these words with his truth-telling lips, behold the blood of Hyacinthus, which had poured out on the ground beside him, and there stained the grass, was changed from blood, and in its place a flower, more beautiful than Tyrian dye, sprang up. It almost seemed a lily, were it not that one was purple and the other white. But Phoebus was not satisfied with this, for it was he who worked the miracle of his sad words inscribed on flower leaves. And these letters, AI, AI, are inscribed on them. And Sparta certainly is proud to honour Hyacinthus as her son, and his loved fame endures, and every year they celebrate a solemn festival. If you should ask a martyrs, which is rich in metals, how can she rejoice and take a pride in deeds of her Propotides? She would disclaim it, and repudiate them all, as well as those of transformed men, whose foreheads were deformed by two rough horns, from which their name, Cerastai. By their gates an altar unto Jove stood. If by chance a stranger, not informed of their dark crimes, had seen the horrid altar smeared with blood, he would suppose that suckling calves and sheep of Amatus were sacrificed thereon. It was, in fact, the blood of slaughtered guests. Kind-hearted Venus, outraged by such deeds of sacrifice, was ready to desert her cities and her snake-infested plains. "But how," said she, "have their delightful lands, together with my well-built city, sinned? What crime have they done? Those inhabitants should pay the penalty of their own crimes by exile or by death, or it may be a middle course between exile and death. And what can that be but a punishment of a changed form?" And while she hesitates, in various thoughts of what form they should take, her eyes by chance observed their horns, and that decided her. Such horns could well be on them after any change occurred, and she transformed their big and brutal bodies to savage bulls. But even after that, the obscene Propotides dared to deny divinity of Venus, for which fault, and it is common fame, they were the first to criminate their bodies,